Hello and welcome to TV. It's all we've got. I'm Lauren Danikian, and you are listening to myself and my dad.
George Danikian.
And we are here to talk about two TV shows that we have watched during the week. And shall I just say, it's not just two regular TV shows, it's two shows that we have recommended the other person to watch. So it may not necessarily be something we've been excited to watch, which I think is very much the case for you this week, Dad.
Look, for me, it's always interesting to be given a chore to do or to take up a challenge. It's very difficult for an anchor man to be sitting back and not being the sort of leader of the pack. But I'm delighted to be able to sit back and watch you be creative and also tell the story and give people a sense of why we do the podcast in this virtual theatre of ours with a virtual audience and an opportunity to, basically tell our story through the podcast, which I reckon, have lovingly titled "TV is All We've Got."
And
it harks back to the very beginning of the first time I think I took you to the theatre when you would have been all of what, 3?
Yeah, probably. I mean, look, Sydney came out of kind of lockdown and had our first freedom week last week. And the first thing that
I did. Serious?
Yeah. First thing that I did.
In Victoria, we're still locked down.
Isn't it Thursday?
Oh, no. It's midnight Thursday, which essentially is Friday. But this is the stupidity of the argument. I mean, there's this inordinate excitement, this artificial excitement that is and it's now being called Freedom Day, and there's actually a countdown clock on.
Oh,
Imagine,
Dad, I know.
We've been denied, we've been in prison for virtually, I don't know, longer than 270 odd days. Now, you wouldn't do that to someone you hate, and this is supposed to be your constituents. But clearly it's been an awkward situation for everybody. I feel for a great many families. I feel for the businessmen and women. It's been like prison, and people will say, "Oh, you're being extraordinarily unreasonable. You've been living in the lucky country." Yes. I understand all that, but this is a government directive that has cost people careers, has cost people livelihoods and businesses. There are men and women and families that have, built businesses up for the last 30, 40 years and lost them like that. And not because the businesses aren't good, not because they don't rate, but because the government chose, following a safety order, to close the economy down and tell people to stay at home. That's a very, very harsh way to do what it needs to do. I understand the safety component. We've seen it around the world, and we've seen the numbers go up and down like yo-yos. But at the end of the day, governments need to govern. The best way to do that is to take the medical advice. It's not the be-all and end-all, the medical advice. That's where leaders show their colours and actually take on board the risks. And I think what we've seen in Victoria has been something that's got out of kilter, well and truly has caused enormous upheaval, mental health issues that will linger long after we come out of this lockdown. So what an extraordinary idea for you or from you to suggest. What a great way for us to keep up with one another connected. And connect. Stay connected during this lockdown is to create a podcast that talks about bringing people together, that talks about fun cinema, fun theatre, fun movies. And it's also given you and I a chance to find out a whole lot about each other that maybe we missed while you were growing up and I was working. And it's one of those terrible concessions that as a parent, you've got to sit there and say, I don't think all of my decisions were very smart. And on reflection, some of them didn't work. And I apologize profusely for causing upheaval.
That's very nice.
You know what?
Thank you.
But the nicest thing is I sit back and reflect. And every time I watch you do what we do each and every week, I actually get a huge buzz.
Oh, really?
Watching you. I sit there thinking to myself, this girl could be doing her own television show, or for that matter, her own radio show.
Oh, well, that's always been the dream. Coming out of school was definitely
hang on
to do radio.
I thought you wanted to do stand-up comedy.
Oh, I mean, yes, but hey, anybody that starts in stand-up ends up in radio, so I'll do everything backwards.
This is
if
true.
That's the case, I'll do it all backwards.
I think the greatest way to get into radio is to be a participant in Big Brother, right?
Oh, do you know what? That's seriously, I applied for it, didn't get in because clearly
what were these people thinking?
I'm not competitive enough for this stream of Big Brother, I guess. It's not just a whole group of people sitting around having a chat now. It's literally competition, which I'm no good at. You know me. I
don't believe that.
I don't have a competitive streak in my body at all. That is probably why you and I do not get along when it comes to sports, because I just don't. I feel bad for the underdog. I always want the underdog to win. Then I feel bad for the loser. Then I feel bad for the people that are supporting the loser. Like, I'm
pause.
A little too empathetic.
You and I, since this podcast series began, have run through a series of shows, and one of them that we both love is called Ted Lasso. It's just seen 2 seasons come and go. And we've now confirmed that a 3rd season's coming. And
thank God.
Lo and behold, Nasty Nate is going to be a huge character in season 3. And remember, this is the groundsman in the series who no one knew or cared about until Ted Lasso gave him his lucky break. And now he thinks he should be the manager of the football club. So much so that he's taken up an invitation to cross the leagues and go to one of the arch enemies of
spoiler alert.
Yeah. So it's on for young and old. I think it'll be interesting to see who you barrack for. Are you going to be barracking for Ted or Nasty Nate?
Well, I guess in this case, Ted is still considered the underdog, right?
Yep.
Because Nate knows the game.
Correct.
So, yeah, I'm still going for Ted.
So you are competing. You are battling.
Well,
you're contesting it.
But it's only because I don't agree with Nate's terminology and what his brain is doing right at the moment. But before we were talking about all of this, I was talking about the first thing I did on my first weekend of freedom, which was last weekend. I went to the movies. Can you believe it? I went and I sat in a cinema with 3 couples and myself. So there were 7 people in the whole cinema.
In the dark. With a mask on. Yep.
It was great. Seriously. It was like basically every night that I spend at home, but just with other people.
So what
sitting
did you
in the dark, watching TV. So I watched Jake Johnson's new movie, Ride the Eagle, which is incredible. He co-wrote it, stars in it. You can tell that it was filmed during COVID because there's very little scenes where he's actually in a scene with someone else, but it's so well done. It is so well done.
Okay.
So when that comes onto one of our streaming services, which are better sooner rather than later, because I can't go see it every weekend at the movies, even though that's what I want to do, I'll make you watch it because it's really good.
All right. Speaking of making me watch it or making you watch it, what was our task this week for the podcast?
So this week I asked you to watch 9 Perfect Strangers, which is now streaming on Binge. It was originally on Foxtel. Stars Nicole Kidman, Melissa McCarthy, Asha Ketty, Samara Weaving.
Luke Evans, the Welshman.
Luke Evans,
who you may remember as Dracula. And also he played a character in Fast and Furious, Hobbs
He also played Gaston in Beauty and the Beast.
Yes. So he has a wide array of talents, and in this particular instance, we won't talk about the character, but it's an interesting character arc, isn't it? From where he starts and where he finishes. 9 Perfect Strangers. That was what my daughter asked of me. My wife, a number of weeks ago, when she first saw it, said, you've got to see Nicole Kidman's latest effort. It's called Nine Perfect Strangers. And I said, no, I'm not going to watch it. And of course, I didn't watch it until my daughter said I had to watch it. Look, I'm glad I did. It's an interesting observation. It's a short one-season wonder. It's 8 episodes. It went pretty quickly, and especially when you're binging, the narrative, the storytelling is so good and so compelling. It draws you. You don't want to stop and go and have a coffee or a lunch or see it tomorrow. You want to see as much of it as possible. So 2 or 3 sittings and I got through it. For me, the characters are really interesting. I'm a huge Bobby Cannavale fan, as is my wife. We saw him live many years ago in New York on Broadway, and he's just fantastic. So that was one thing that kept me going. I still haven't recovered from Nicole Kidman's wig, which I think has a life of its
I thought you were
own.
going to say accent.
Oh, the accent. Well, you sort of let that slide. I like Bobby Cannavale, Melissa McCarthy, Luke Evans, Samara Weaving. Now, she's a really interesting young actress. She's Hugo Weaving's daughter, of course. And she and her boyfriend are an interesting couple. I don't want to do too much of the plot because we want you to join us, take up the challenge and go and see Nine Perfect Strangers. Look, it's meant to be filmed in America. The truth of the matter is, although the cars appear to be driving on the left-hand side of the road and they've got California plates on them, it was shot in Ballina, beautiful part of northern New South Wales. I know it very well. It rains, and when it rains, it pours. And also shot in Byron Bay. One of the taglines you'll get very comfortable with, welcome to Tranquillum.
Tranquillum.
That's the
and that's probably all you can
resort.
Really say about it.
Yeah. So an assortment of characters, 9 perfect strangers come together, and over the next 10 days kind of discover themselves. And the thing that you discover is the world is filled with stressed out people, people who've been seriously damaged, and something else that we're seeing an awful lot of in this modern world of ours, and that's people abusing prescription medicines and pharmaceuticals and opiates. Can I say that?
Yeah.
We see so many people at the moment having an excuse not to get vaccinated because they don't know what's in the vaccine. Well, it never ceases to amaze me just how many people are prepared to take an illicit drug. Now, you've got to remember, this is the news anchor talking. For 40 years, they were all illicit drugs. The last 10, 15 years, they're all recreational drugs. But the truth of the matter is, no one knows what goes into the cocaine, the heroin, the methamphetamines, you name it. But they're not concerned about that. They're just happy to have it. Here we have a vaccine that's supposed to protect you and others in the community. People going, nah, not for me. We are a silly race of people, aren't we?
It's this whole idea of escaping reality.
That's the end of my rant. That's the end of my rant, by the way.
Hey, we're still going. We're still chatting. Okay. It's this whole want and need to experience something that's otherworldly, I guess. And this, really drew me in. Sorry?
Could it be that there's a little emptiness and they want to fill it artificially? Yeah.
I mean, all of these people that come to Tranquillum have lost a sense of self.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because in this particular series, we look at dysmorphia.
Yep.
We look at addiction. We look at loss. We look at 1,000 other things. So grief. Yep. So it's very bullying, abuse, and all that sort of stuff. So it's very interesting. What drew you? I interrupted you. You were about to tell us. What drew you to Nine Perfect Strangers and said, I've got to get Dad to watch it?
So I watched it pretty much from the first day that it launched.
Okay.
And I think when it first dropped, there was 3 episodes. And I got overly excited because I thought, oh my God, this is an opportunity for me to like binge a whole season. And then when I finished the end of the third episode, it stopped. And I was like, what? No. Because I think that's when it was really just getting to a juicy part. And so then I had to wait week after week after week. And I was very impatient about it. But
can I just stop you there?
Yeah.
Do you know for the last 40 odd years, that's how real television used to work, Lauren.
I know.
You had to
wait.
My
brain's not used to it anymore. It's so unhealthy. It's so unhealthy.
The only thing that you saw every day was the news.
Sure.
Like sorry, had to throw that.
I ever watched it. I watched it when you were on. I watched it when you were on.
So cruel, my daughter.
I mean, different
Don't
state.
go there.
I couldn't watch it all the time.
You couldn't watch
Anyway, moving right along.
Yes, moving right along.
It was something that I just found really fascinating. The interaction between the different people, and when you always just throw random people into something, that there's always going to be those two people that hate each other, the two people that bond over something. Like you just, it is the regular tropes of every situation like this.
Who's your favorite character?
Oh,
I've got one.
I mean,
for me, Grace Van Patten.
She was very good. Who played Zoe?
The young girl who plays Zoe, who's the daughter of Michael Shannon and Asher Ketty. Michael Shannon, of course, first came to light in my world when he made a real reputation for himself as a fabulous dramatic actor in Boardwalk Empire. And he's gone on and he's done some terrific work. This is some terrific work in this. Asher Ketty, not so much for me. The role, maybe it's just the role. Ketty. I know, but I don't think it's Ash. It's Ash at her best. But for me, Zoe or Grace Van Patten, she's terrific. From the first time you see her till the end, I think she's the one that I would give 5 stars to. It's a terrific effort, and it's not easy. And what she does with great effect. So congratulations to Zoe.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of growth in all of the cast, really.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. So that's why I said you need to watch it.
My request, keep you guessing as well.
Do you know what's really funny? I just had a blank moment and thought, what did you just ask me to watch? So yes, you asked me to watch Shadow and Bone on Netflix. Yeah. So the first thing I did, because, obviously I've never heard of it before, I was like, Google Shadow and Bone. And I found out that it was based off, ready for it, a kid's novel.
Oh, what's the problem with that? Half of the movies you see today are made through Marvel or DC Comics, or graphic novels, and they're big movies.
I just found it so, like, if that's the first thing you read that your dad has recommended you to watch, it's kind of like, okay, Dad's reverting back to when he was a kid.
Did you and I see Chronicles of Narnia?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I don't know if we saw it together, though.
I think we did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, the main guy in that is in this. And let me tell you, not bad. He has grown up a lot.
Hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there you go.
Quite impressed. 40.
What did you make of Shadow and Bone?
Do you know what? I liked it. It, like I think I spoke to you about on the phone, it was a little slow to kind of get into it, but I understand completely. That's introducing you to the characters, introducing you to the different kind of ranks of who everybody is and where everybody lies. But I did really enjoy it. So I don't know if this is just me, but I instinctively, when I see a character, decide then and there whether I like them or not, and whether I can trust them or not. I don't know what it is, but I hate it about myself because I end up ruining whatever I'm watching for myself, because when I'm proven right, I'm like, oh man, couldn't you just be a good one? Like, why? Why?
Oh, hang on. In Shadow and Bone, the person that you're talking to or alluding to may well complete the arc and turn again. We don't know. So we have to wait for season 2.
Season 2.
All right.
So Shadow and Bone is, I mean, how would you describe it? It is a fantasy.
It's a fantasy and loosely based around, a country called Russia, but it's not called Russia. That's been split apart by revolution and by war, and there's some magic.
A big black cloud
has created this huge shroud, which can be a place for protection, and can also be a place to lose your mind. People have got to watch it. I don't want to tell them too much. Get into it. Take the opportunity. Lauren has seen it, and she's kind of now on top of it and cannot wait for season 2. It's Shadow and Bone. It's on Netflix. And is there going to be another series of 9 Perfect Strangers?
I hope
another
not.
Another 9 new characters?
I hope not.
Or is that it?
I hope that's it.
Okay, there you go.
I secretly hope that's it.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Yeah, and I was happy with it, with the dog they got too at the end.
Yeah.
No clues.
Can I just say that in Shadow and Bone, something that was fascinating to me was the hierarchy of kind of where each type of person sat, and involve a girl that was raised in an orphanage and ends up working on a battlefield. Like I think I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Okay, let me give you a grasp.
We need to at least give them a little something premise,
Let me give you something to think about.
Okay.
The caste system has been a part of British establishment for years and years and years. The upper house and the lower house, and it was upstairs, downstairs. Upstairs was the noblemen, downstairs were the servants, and there's a little bit of that in Shadow and Bone. And you could see people working hard above their station, and people are stunned by them. But it raises a lot of questions about the way we treat one another. It talks about outsiders. And so often in life, there are interesting lessons to learn in every show, every book, every movie, if only you look. And I think the hardest thing in life is to keep your eyes open, to keep your brain open. And this is what I'm finding out with our podcasts. You pitch things to me each and every week, and I go, oh, really? The only one that I've really struggled with was that request where you said to me, Dad, I want you to see White Lotus. Now, I've already told you, I've already told you, I struggled through the entire time. And it was because simply there was not one character I liked in that whole show. And maybe that's the message, that you can run into a town, or you can run into a meeting, or you can run into a work situation, and there won't be one person there that will warm you or make you feel fuzzy. But
that's when you know you got to get out.
Well, I watched the required number of episodes so I could talk about it.
There was only 8, I think, so it's fine.
And it
was 10?
And I got there as quickly as I could.
Okay.
Yeah. So
it's a whole new reason to binge.
So speaking of reasons to binge, I've got another program for you, and this is again a departure, something a little bit different. And we talked about a children's book, for Shadow and Bone, or the origins of Shadow and Bone has emerged from a children's book. This series, which is available at the moment on Stan, is called Stan Lee's. That is the Marvel man who died.
I love Stan Lee.
Who died only recently. Stan Lee's The Lucky Man. and it stars
Lucky
James
Man.
Nesbitt. I won't tell you any more, but
Okay.
I want you to go and see it. So what have you got for me?
Okay, so this one that I'm going to recommend to you, I wasn't really sure of where I felt about it.
Oh.
But because there's been so much hype, I decided that I would put myself through it and I'll watch it. Because I think we need to talk about it. It's a little thing, you may not have heard of it, called Squid Game.
Oh, the Korean television series.
Yep, it's on Netflix.
Oh, God.
Now, hang on a second, kind sir. You do like Korean TV shows.
Oh, yeah. Hang on. I've been threatening you with a Korean series for weeks and weeks and weeks. I'll tell you what. Let's hold up on The Lucky Man, and let me just change. Seeing you're going to get me to go Korean, I want you to see Vincenzo.
Okay, that sounds so Korean.
It's Korean. Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Vincento.
I will do it.
I think it's Vincento or Vincenzo.
We're going Korean for next week, everybody.
So check it out on Netflix. I went through it so quickly, I couldn't get enough of it. And I think you'll discover the magical bit is the lead, the male lead. Very good. And I've watched half a dozen of the shows and a movie that he's just starred in the last couple of years. He's very much in demand. We'll talk about him, of course, next week. So, Vincento, the Korean
see if he can beat Ben Barnes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's pretty fun.
Okay. So you've got Vincento. I've got
Squid Game.
Squid Game. Yeah. Okay. The only time I like squid is when it's salt and peppered. All right, daughter.
Couldn't agree more.
Time for us to go.
All right.
Would you like to do
as always?
Would you like? Yeah. Do it. Go on. Close the show.
Well, that's all we have on this week's episode of TV. It's all we've got. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you same place next week.
If you do like what we do, just make sure you make the appropriate like or
like, subscribe
or whatever.
Double tap.
TV is all we've got.
What you got to do.
See?
Yeah, it is.
Thank
Bye.
You. Bye.